Good morning and happy Sabbath, church. Good morning and happy Sabbath, church.
Morning.
Today I want to read a couple of verses to you guys from James 1. And in James 1, the topic of the verses is trials and temptations. And it says in verse 2, "Consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete and not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." And this is the most important part. "But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind." My mom called me earlier this week when I was going through a hard time. And one thing that she told me was, "I have learned to kiss the wave that throws me to the rock of ages." And I don't know what kind of waves you guys are going through, and I don't know what kind of mess has entered your life or is leaving your life, but as long as the waves roll and hits you towards a rock, may you cling on to the rock of ages. The song that we're singing is Bigger Than I Thought, and I invite you guys to sing along with us. Speak to me when the silence steals my voice. You understand me. You understand me. Come to me in the valley of unknowns. You understand me. You understand me. You understand me, God. You understand impossible negotiations with the God of all creation. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought you were. As we come into this next song, I invite you guys to reflect on the words. I don't know how you've been feeling this week, but in this moment and in this space, just get caught up in the presence of God. Just soak and bask in the love that He has for you.
Jesus, you don't owe me anything, and more than anything that you can do, I just want you. And I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where it started. I open up my heart to you. And I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything, and more than anything that you can do, I just want you. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything, but more than anything that you can do, I just want you.
For this next song, I invite you guys to stand with us and to sing. God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've made. Every burning star, a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. Oh, and as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. So will If the stars were made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where you send
where you lost your life so I can find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind. Bow your heads with me. Father, like you would a billion times, there is no measure of your love, no measure of your goodness for us. So what is our response, Father? Is just to simply follow you, to say, so will I. God, if you gave your life to love them, so will I. Regardless of what they've done to me, regardless of how they've hurt me, regardless of what's going on in my life, I will love them. Because you have loved them, because you have loved me. Father, pour upon us your Holy Spirit. And as we're here in this moment, remind us of how good you've been to us. A billion times over. Thank you for coming to this presence today and just sitting here with us. Father, forgive us of the shortcomings we've committed against you, against other people, and against ourselves, Father. Remind us how good you are to us. And may that be the response of our entire lives. So will I. So will I. Because you have loved us. Thank you for all you've done. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Hello. Good afternoon, actually, and happy Sabbath. Let me try that one more time. Happy Sabbath. Welcome to a very special One Place service today. It is our Mission Sabbath. We will be focusing and celebrating the idea of missions and some of our student missionaries that are out this school year. So we have a very fun program planned for you. My name is Megan Nabud. I am a senior studying speech-language pathology, and I was a student missionary this past summer in the gorgeous, beautiful island of Saipan. If you haven't heard of it, you can go check on the map. Oh, I heard that. Hi. So again, like I said, we have a fun program planned for you guys. We have a video, an update from some of our SMs that are out this school year, just checking in on how they're doing and why they decided to go out and serve in this capacity. We also have a fun little interactive element that'll get you guys involved and, maybe win some free shirts, maybe. But besides that, we also have our message at the end. And speaking of our message, of our sermon, our speaker today is Professor Daniel Weber. He is a new professor here at Andrews, but not necessarily new to the area. He'll be teaching in our VACD department. And he recently came from the NAD, serving as a communications director since 2014. And we are really blessed to have him as our speaker in this specific service today because he was a student missionary in Iceland. So we really look forward to hearing from him, from his experience, and learning more about him as well. So thank you guys for coming out today to worship with us. And we hope that you are blessed by the service we're providing today. Thank you.
Okay, I thought there was supposed to be a video, so that was my bad. Welcome to One Place. So we're supposed to have a Kahoot. I have some free t-shirts at the end. We will see if it works. It's saying it's only gonna let 10 players, so you guys might end up in teams. Or I could just ask you the questions. We'll see. But how's it going? How's your week going? Okay. My week's going pretty good. Oh, okay, so let's see if it lets more than 10 people in. If not, I'll just ask you guys the questions because I think they're kind of fun. You guys know how Kahoot works. You go to the IP address, type in the game pin. Oh, apparently Sebastian's about to get kicked out. I don't know what he did, but yes. Okay, cool. This is fun. Andrea Luxton, welcome. Guys, I'm so excited. I love Kahoot, and I came up with all the questions. I'm gonna stand over here though so I can see. I did not know that you could make your emojis like your name, but this is cool. This is really cool. I feel like some of these aren't your real names. I just have like a feeling, but it's okay. It's okay. That's a lot of people. Welcome everyone. I'm excited. I know. I'm so excited. Okay, listen. I'm not in this, so I don't know who's pretending to be me. I actually have a very strong feeling, but all right. It looks like it's slowing down, so maybe you have 10 seconds if you're not up there already. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, are you ready? Let's do this. Student missions. Where is the best school? You can read the places. The picture was actually taken by the lovely woman who was just up here, Megan Napod. She took this picture in Saipan. I'm not gonna lie to you, most of the pictures on here are from Saipan because they came straight from my camera roll. It's what I had, and they're pretty, and I love Saipan, so it's okay. Okay, so it's obviously there is no one school that is the best. The other places are very cool, but they've not been like declared the best. Oh, go World Car. Congratulations. Who can be a student missionary? Any university student, any elementary student, any academy student, or any staff member? Yay! Any university student. I personally would think that it'd be a little bit wild to send an elementary student somewhere where they haven't been, and also because they don't know how money works. So, any university student. Oh, World Car. What continent does Mauritania belong to? Asia, Australia, Africa, or South America? Okay, good job to 27 of you. Mauritania is in Africa. We had a student missionary go there a couple years ago. Her name is Naisa. She's actually here today. I think that's super cool. All right, World Car, back on top. Good job. How many hours difference is Egypt from Michigan? 4 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, or 9 hours? Good job. Some of you guys are doing like really, really great on this. That is awesome. Oh, World Car. Nate is on top now. Good job, Nate. True or false? Student missionaries can go anywhere there is a call. This is also in Saipan, by the way. I took this one. Ooh, it is true. If there is a call, you can go there. And even if there isn't, and you know there's a school or a church, you can try and communicate them when sometimes we can create a call for you. Oh, good job, me. You climbed 12 places. How many long-term positions are open in New Zealand right now? This picture is from New Zealand. I got it from Google. Isn't that cool? All right, there are 4 long-term positions in New Zealand right now. 2 are for girls' deans and 2 are for guys' deans. And you can find more of these calls on hesaidgo.com under long-term missions. Oh, some of you guys missed your answer streak. I'm sorry, but let's keep going. What is the official language of Brazil? Spanish, Brazilian, Portuguese, or all of the above? I feel like if people get this wrong, we're going to have a discussion about this. It is Portuguese. For those of you who put Brazilian or all of the above, let's talk about this after, okay? It is Portuguese. Okay, Nate's still on top. Okay, winners moving up. True or false? There are 28 student missionaries answering calls right now. That's also Saipan. I believe Megan took that picture. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. Oh, I should probably mention this so it makes sense. I went to Saipan as a student missionary. Megan and I went together this summer. It was a super fun time. Went to the beach a bunch, taught some kids. A blast. Would highly recommend, 10 out of 10 stars. A+. Loved it there. That is true. There are 28 student missionaries. We will be putting their pictures up in CFE coming very soon. So if you want to stop by and see who's out and maybe where they are, feel free. Oh, winner? Good job. Which of these calls sounds the most interesting to you? A reading specialist in Ponape, a grade school teacher in Malawi, an IT assistant in Egypt, or a nurse in Portugal? I took that picture. I don't remember where I was, but it was in the air. It was cool. It was fun. So obviously this is a little bit subjective. It's what's most interesting to you, so they are all correct. Okay, winner. Oh, good job. Congrats to Zach, moving up 7 places. How many islands make up the Federated States of Micronesia? Oh, this picture isn't Saipan. This one is Hawaii. It is really pretty, and we got up early to go snorkeling. I would just like to point out that Corey Johnson went to Palau, which is a island under the Federated States of Micronesia. We had a couple other people go to Palau too. It's a wonderful place. 607. That's a lot of islands. Not all of them are inhabited, but there are that many islands. I mean, winter's still on top, so congratulations to them. Where are the U.S. Virgin Islands? The Caribbean Sea, sorry if I mispronounced that, the Yellow Sea, the Black Sea, or the Philippine Sea? I know you can't see it on the map, which was kind of the point, but you definitely have enough time to look it up so that we know for future reference. Congratulations. We'll keep going. Oh, Liz got an answer streak of 3. Congratulations to you. You can be a student missionary in the United States, true or false? Also, that picture is Saipan again. We were driving on Beach Road, and the sunset was just magnificent. I had to take a picture, or a couple. I think there's like 7 pictures. It was worth it. That is true. So the current president of the Student Missions Club is Nehemiah, and he went to Idaho, and that's very much in the United States. Okay, winner, doing a good job. Some of you guys reached an 8 answer streak. That's awesome. What country does this flag belong to? I did pick all places that have red, white, and blue flags because I felt like that would be nice and confusing for everybody. Yay! All right, 25 of you, fantastic work. The flag is from Costa Rica. We currently have 2 SMs in Costa Rica, Esterati and Nathaniel. You need to be certified or have a degree to be a student missionary, true or false? I think this picture is from Banff in Canada, and Nehemiah took it. All right, true or false? This is false. There are some places that require you to have a degree if you want to be something like a doctor or a nurse, which are things you should have a degree for and should not just be practicing by yourself. But there are places that to be a teacher, you don't have to have a degree. You can go and get some experience. It's awesome, I did that. Okay, winner. When is the best time to take the year to be a student missionary? Anytime after freshman year, after sophomore year, or 1 month into the school year? I mean, technically they're all possible, but there's one that makes a little more sense than the other 3. Just so you know. All right, the best answer is anytime. There are people who go before they enter college. There are people who go after they graduate. And most people do theirs somewhere in between the school years. But there is no best time. Oh, World Car, good job. You're back in the game. Where are there student missionaries currently? Palau, Saipan, Belize, or South Korea? Think of maybe if you know some people who are student missionaries, maybe where they might be. I also took this picture. I think it might have been recently. I think it was when I was flying to Texas. I was just visiting. I'm from Georgia. Okay, so all of these are correct because we have missionaries in all of these places. Yeah, we do have people. We have someone in South Korea, Gabe Halsey. All right, good job, winner. Emily, you're back in the game. Congrats. Oh, and this is the last question. Why are you qualified to be a student missionary? You want to be a teacher. You're a student. You're friends with student missionaries. Oh, I put the wrong form of your. I am so sorry. That was my bad. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. I also took this picture. It is, the rock in the back is called Old Man, so it's Old Man by the Sea. Good job, guys. Good job. Okay, so we have some t-shirts for the top 5 people who placed, and I have a helper, Naisa, who went to Mauritania. All right, Nate, winner. Oh, who's in first then? Santi Atlas. Congratulations, and Viv and Rinte. So if you could show Naisa your username and make sure that she has that correct, you get a free t-shirt. Thank you for playing. This was fun. Good. I have the mic still. Oh, should I give it away?
It feels so good to take this off, I tell you. Teaching in one of these is really, really hard. Teaching is hard enough, but having to wear one of these when you're trying to speak and connect with people is really hard. Good afternoon. I keep wanting to say good morning, but it's definitely good afternoon. Okay, no response. I haven't started preaching yet, so you shouldn't be sleeping. So, good afternoon. There we go. That's good. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with us today. And specifically, I'm going to be selfish and ask you to be with me. May my words be your words. May something I say here touch someone's heart. Maybe someone's thinking about going as a student missionary or being more involved in your church or somehow just drawing closer to you. That's our goal today. Thank you for your blessings and thank you for the Sabbath. In your name, amen. So my name is Daniel Weber. I teach film and photography classes in the visual art communication design program here on campus. I graduated from here 30 years ago. I grew up here, so this is kind of a homecoming. I graduated, got married, moved to California, spent 11 years there, and then spent 19 years in Maryland, the majority of which working for the General Conference and then for the North American Division. At the General Conference, I was at Hope Channel when it first started. I was a senior producer there for their programs. And then I worked in the missions office at the General Conference for 8 years, producing short-form documentaries on mission stories. And then in 2012, I went to the North American Division, becoming the communication director there in 2014. So I know a little bit about missions, and we'll talk about that. But I'm excited to be here, but today we're not just talking about missions, we're also looking at Luke 12 and 13. And if we look at Luke 12 and 13, these chapters give us several important examples that we can draw lessons from as we focus on our theme of missions today. So if you want to open up to Luke 13, 10 through 17, I want to focus on this one right now. This is the story of one of the times that Jesus healed on the Sabbath. So let's read this together. On a Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues, and a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over. She could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said to her, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." Then he put his hands on her, and she straightened up, and she praised God. Can you imagine that? 18 years, and all of a sudden you're set free. Amazing. Indigent because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, the synagogue leader said to the people, There are 6 days for work. So come and be healed on those days and not the Sabbath. And I love Jesus' response. The Lord answered him, "You hypocrites." I'd have loved to have been there to hear him say that. "Doesn't each of you untie your ox or donkey from the stall and lead it out to give it water? Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, who Satan has kept bound for 18 long years, be set free on the Sabbath day from what bound her?" I loved that Jesus admonished those leaders. And he didn't pull any punches when he did it. He had no problem embarrassing people when they were using his religion or using God for their own gain and not for God's glory. How many of you knew that the first Adventist missionaries that went out were not evangelists? Majority of them that went out were educators or they worked in medicine. Why was that? I'm going to argue that healing and education are just as important forms of evangelism as going out and just preaching the gospel. In fact, they're ways of living the gospel. If we go back one slide, please. The pictures that I had there are intentional, and I'm going to tell you a story based on that. We can go 2 slides up, please. That's at a leper colony in China. How many of you knew that leprosy still existed? It's not very prevalent. There's medicine these days that you can take that keeps it from, that basically kills it, gets rid of it. I was sitting on a plane in 2011 in Baltimore, early in the morning, at a 7 a.m. flight. I was flying from Baltimore to San Francisco and then to China. And I was going to go there for 2 weeks to go get mission stories. And I had the habit of always pulling out my phone and checking my email right before they closed the door on the plane. Because I tended to get around 300 to 400 emails a day. And that 5 to 6 hour flight from Baltimore to San Francisco, a lot of emails will pile up. So I want to make sure that I was aware of what was happening before I got on the plane. And when I landed in San Francisco, I'd check them again. I've got this thing about keeping up on my email. It drives me nuts. I get so many, I feel like I get lost. So right before they shut the door to the plane, I get an email from one of my colleagues who was in China. Now, she was there getting print stories, and I was going to get video stories. She sends me an email, and she says, "Hey, I just met this young girl. She's 18 years old, and she's living in a leper colony as a volunteer. Do you want this story? If you want her story, I'll have her stay here in Shanghai, and then you can meet her." And I replied back and said, "No, have her go back to where she is. I will come get her story where she is." Because in my mind, I had to go where that story was taking place. I wanted to see these young people working in a leper colony. So I sent the email off, and then I copied her email to my counterpart in China who was meeting me when I got to Shanghai. The door of the plane closes. I have a 6-hour flight sitting there going, I wonder what's going to happen. I land in San Francisco, and there's an email from my colleague in China saying, "We've got everything arranged. We will help you get this story. Just get here." I fly direct from San Francisco to Shanghai. I get there late at night. I go to bed. I wake up. We take 2 trains. It takes 5 hours on trains to go out to where this story is. I get there early afternoon. We go out in the middle of nowhere to an abandoned cement factory. And by this time, I am jet lagged like you wouldn't believe. I am so tired, but I know I have 2 hours to try to get this story. And I'm trying to wake myself up, and I'm let the adrenaline rush so that I can try to wake up and I can capture, because in my mind, this is an important story to get. And we go in there, and I meet these young people, and there was 12 of them, 18 to 22 years of age. And a gentleman from Korea who had some money had set these projects up, and they had several of these all over China. And the problem is, in China, you have poor areas where you don't have access to the medicine for leprosy. And there's a stigma that goes with leprosy. So when you get leprosy, you're suddenly ostracized by your family and your community. So the only community they have is they go find each other and they go live off in these abandoned areas. And it's awful to see. A lot of them have gone blind because the leprosy goes in their eyes. They lose their fingers and their toes. And I titled the story Another Communion because when I filmed that scene, I had to fight back the tears. Here's a young man. He's not wearing gloves. And he's healing the spiritual need of this person just by being there and showing that he cares for them and that they matter. Someone who has been ostracized by society and by their family, and he's there, and that gentleman's going to lose his foot eventually, but he's there helping heal. Just like what Jesus did on the Sabbath. Serving others is the most important thing that we can do as Christians. It's what we're all called to do. I want to focus today, you saw my sermon title is, I Was a Fig Tree. Interesting title, huh? How am I a fig tree? I guess the only thing you think is I'm tall, right? But let's look at Luke 13, 6-9. Let's look at the parable of the fig tree. Let's read that together. A man had a fig tree growing in his vineyard, and he went to look for fruit and couldn't find any. So he said to the man taking care of the vineyard, "For 3 years I've been coming and looking for fruit, and I haven't found any. Cut it down. Why should I waste the soil?" And the man taking care of the vineyard replied, "Leave it alone for 1 more year, and I'll dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears any fruit next year, fine. If not, then cut it down." So I was a fig tree. I was a student here. I started in 1986, did 2 years of school. We were on the quarter system then, so you had fall quarter, winter quarter, spring quarter. I had come back from Christmas break, and there was a letter waiting for me at the dorm from a girl that I had been dating off and on for about 2 years. And in that letter, she said, "You know, I never really cared about you. And by the way, I've left you for one of your high school friends. And by the way, he's a better man than you'll ever be." What do you think that did to me? Here's the context of receiving that letter. Over Christmas, my parents' divorce had been finalized. It hit me hard. It hit me really hard. And for the first time in my life, I bombed my classes. I had never, ever gotten anything less than an A in an English class, and I got an F in college writing too. And I was decimated. I felt like my life was over. I didn't know what I was doing. I was burned out. And some of you may be feeling that sometimes. So I made it through that quarter, and we go into the spring. And I said, you know, things are going to get better. Things are going to get better, even though I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. So I told God, I said, you know what? If you want me to come back next year, I'm going to apply for a job in the dorm as an RA. And if I get that job, then that's a sign that you want me to be here next year. And so I tackled my classes. I tried really hard. I got better grades. And I didn't get the job as an RA. And suddenly I'm saying to myself, wait, God, are you saying you don't want me to be here? My mom was teaching up in Cadillac, Michigan, and I went up there, and I had the worst job of my life. The only job I could find was pumping gas in a gas station. They still did that back then. I got paid $4 an hour And the only reason I got paid more than anyone else is because I had college education. I was an educated person. Ouch. And my mom was down at Andrews for the summer working on her master's degree. I was living by myself in my mom's house, in a strange house, doing a job I hated for 12 hours a day. And again, I wasn't feeling good about myself. And I think it was where God wanted me at that low point. And my mom, who was staying in Lamson Hall, noticed a sign on one of the bulletin boards. And the sign said, "Spend the winter in Iceland. Go as a student missionary." She knew I was struggling. She wouldn't say anything to me, but she knew I was struggling. So she started calling me. "Hey, there's this sign. You should consider going. There's this thing in Iceland. You should consider going." I'm like, "Iceland? Are you kidding? It's cold there. I grew up in Michigan. It's already bad enough." And she kept bugging me, and she kept bugging me, and she kept bugging me. So finally, near the middle of the summer, I said, "You know what, Mom? Fine. I will go talk to the missions office. I'll go talk to, it was at the chaplain's office then. I'll go talk to the chaplain." There's no way I'm going to go to Iceland. So I took a day off work. I drove down from Cadillac. I went into the meeting, and I said, "You know what, this will be 15 minutes. I'll be in and out. I'll head back to Cadillac. I'm not going to Iceland." In my mind, I knew I was not prepared to go to Iceland. I don't know, do they still, if you go to student missionary, do you still have to take a class to go as a student missionary? Back then, you actually had to take a class for 2 semesters. And you had to study the country you were going to go to and do a paper and a report and all this other stuff. They wanted you prepared to go. I hadn't done any of that. So I go into the chaplain's office, and we sit down, and I meet with the chaplain, and Pat Morrison is his name. And he goes, "So we've got this thing in Iceland. It's an assistant dean position, and you want to go, right?" And I go, I don't know about that. I'm just, be honest, my mom was bugging me about it. I just figured I'd come talk to you guys. He goes, "So tell me about yourself." I told him a little bit. Photography major. That's it, basically. "Okay, so if I were to call the dean in the dorm, what would they say about you?" And I said, "Uh-oh." I wasn't a bad kid. When you guys go to worship, how many credits do you have to get a week, roughly? Do they still do that? No? All right. Well, we had to get so many worship credits a week, and you had to keep your score. You got points for each worship and stuff. Let's just say my record was -120. And there's a reason why. And I told the chaplain that. I said, "What you're going to get from the dean is that I'm a good guy who never caused trouble, but I never ever went to worship." And he goes, "Yeah, that's exactly what he said." And I said, "Well, let me tell you why. I have to work to be able to go to school. I'm working 20 to 25 hours a week. I'm a lab instructor in the photography program, which means I work from 6 p.m. to 10 o'clock every night. And that's when the labs would close, and then I would have to work on my own projects for classes. That meant I was up till probably 2 or 3 in the morning. So do you want me to skip work to go to the 10 o'clock worship, or do you want me to skip work to go to the 7 o'clock worship? Because I'm not getting up to go to the 6 o'clock worship after I've gone to bed at 3 a.m. So every time I'd go into the dean's office and beg and plead, and they'd reset my score back to 0, and very quickly it would go negative again. And the chaplain sat and listened, and he goes, "Yeah, I get it." And he goes, "I'm going to be 100% honest. You're not qualified to go. You shouldn't be going. But we don't have anybody else. So you're going to Iceland." And I'm going, "What? So it's yours. You want to go to Iceland?" I had to make a decision right then. What do I do? And it was then I heard God tell me, "You're going to Iceland." I said, "Okay, guess I'm going to Iceland." And the chaplain said, "Great, congratulations. We'll mark the position is filled. By the way, do you have a passport?" "No." "Why?" "Because you're leaving in 6 weeks." "What?" Oh, and you need to fundraise $1,000 for your airline ticket. What? So I went and saw my mom and said, Mom, your wish has been granted. I'm going to Iceland. But by the way, I need a passport and I need $1,000 for a ticket. And she's like, well, I'll call my brother. He's a doctor. He'll give you the money. I'm like, oh. Okay. So I applied for a passport. My passport showed up the day before I left. I find myself in Chicago, getting on a plane, Icelandair flying direct from Chicago to Reykjavik. And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And I meet another student missionary who's actually a teacher here now on campus. And we get on the plane and we fly to Iceland. I remember waking up halfway through the flight, because you do the flight at night. I wake up halfway through the flight. I'm sitting by the window, and I start panicking. And I'm like, what have I done? It was by the way, I was 20 years old. It was my first time being on a plane. I was on a plane one time when I was 2, when I moved from Boston to Michigan. Otherwise, I'd never been on a plane. And I woke up and I'm panicked. What have I done? What have I done? What have I done? And I look out the window and God gave me a sign. I looked out the window and I saw the northern lights. And I'm like, okay, he's got this. And I landed. And I get there and they say, oh, by the way, you're going to be the maintenance man. You're not going to be the assistant dean. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't even know what a screwdriver is. How am I supposed to be the maintenance man? Well, they found out very quickly because we got there 2 weeks before school started, and they said, here, go fix this up and fix that up and everything and stuff. After 3 days, they came to me and said, we're going to switch. You're going to be the dean, and the other guy's going to be the maintenance man because you don't know what you're doing. And they were right. I had about 25 kids. And when I say kids, these are kids that were 5th grade to 9th grade. 7th grade to 9th grade, excuse me. So these are kids who were 13, 14, 15, 16 years of age. And this is a boarding school. So I'm in charge of them. They're living in this dorm. I'm living with them in the dorm. Every night I would go around and I'd tuck these kids in and I'd tell them good night. And one night I walked in and these 2 7th graders, who were probably 13 or 14, were in tears. And I said, hey guys, what's wrong? And they said, we're here, we're neighbors, we're best friends, and both of our families are going through divorces. And none of our parents wanted us, so they shipped us off to school. I knew right then why I was there. Because I'd gone through a divorce with my parents. I went to boarding school to get out of the house and get away from the fighting. And I could sit there and I could look those kids in the eye and I could say, I know exactly how you feel. And it's going to be okay. When you see God working in your life, it's a powerful thing. It's an amazing thing. I ended up staying a 2nd year. At Christmas time of the 1st year, they came to me and said, hey, the other guy who's the maintenance man is loving his job and he doesn't want to go back to Northern Ireland and he's going to stay. Would you consider doing that too? And I said, you bet. It gave my life purpose. It gave my life meaning. I came back here, finished up school, graduated, went out, and then eventually that mission experience trained me to be a student, to work in the missions office of the church. I could relate to those missionaries that are out in the field. I loved capturing those stories and seeing those experiences of how God was working through other people. Luke 12, 22 to 32. talks about how if we put God in charge of our lives, he's going to take care of us no matter what. And there's been a couple of times where I've felt God pulling me and calling me, you need to go do this, you need to go do this. And I've learned to trust him because of the previous experiences, where it may not make sense, but I go do it because I trust him and I feel like he's leading. So how did I end up here at Andrews? I was at the North American Division. I was the communication director. That's an elected position. I get a job for 5 years. I had a budget. I could go anywhere I wanted to go. I could say, hey, I want to do this project. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. I had a team of 8 people working for me. How do I end up here? We had our elections last April, and they were on a Thursday. And that Monday, I get a call from my good friend Dave Sherwin, who teaches in the photo program. Dave was one of my professors. And Dave says, hey, by the way, there's an opening here. You should apply. And I'm like, no, come on, Dave. He goes, you're qualified. You're more than qualified. And I go, yeah, but really, Dave? Come on. And he goes, just think about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks. I appreciate it. And for the next day, it bugged me in the back of my head. It was just sitting there. It was sitting there. It was sitting there. And I went to one of my good colleagues, Ken Denslow, who's now the new union president here in the Lake Union, and said, Ken, this is going on. And he goes, you're just worried about the election on Thursday. Don't worry about it. You're going to get reelected. Everything's good. Why would you go to Michigan? I said, yeah, I know. The next day, it bugged me even more. So I called Lynn Caldwell, the department chair, who also was one of my professors when I was here. And Lynn goes, are you kidding? Wow, this would be great. You ought to come. And I'm like, well, I'm not there, Lynn. I'm just kind of talking it through. The next day was Thursday, and we had our elections that day. I got up in the morning, and I was driving to work, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to Andrews. I'm going to get reelected. I'm going to focus on, we've got this 5-year plan we're working on. This is what we're going to do and stuff. We go through the elections. The next morning's Friday, and I wake up, and it is stronger than ever in the back of my head. You need to call Andrews and talk to them. And that scared me, because the last time I felt it that strong was in 2002 when I left corporate work to go work for the church. And each time you're going from a position to what some consider a lower position. It's a cut in pay. But 19 years ago I did it, and I trusted God, and it worked out well. So I called Andrews, I called Dean Rosenthal, and we had a really good conversation. Of course, I'm here. Because I trust God. I feel that God wants me here to teach. Do I know what I'm doing when I'm teaching? I feel sorry for my students. But I've got 30 years of experience that I can rely upon to share with them. God is in control. God has us under his wing. And there's nothing better than knowing that. I'm going to urge all of you. Who here has gone as a student missionary? I can't see with the lights, a couple hands. And then you got the beach dwellers over there. So. Did you get the opinion from watching those Kahoot pictures that all they did was live on the beach the whole time they were there? I went to Iceland. It was cold. You went on vacation. I pray that God works on your hearts. I pray that God puts that seed in the back of your mind that starts pushing you. And if it makes you uncomfortable, then good. Because if you're not feeling that, maybe it's time to have a conversation with God. God can use anybody. I wasn't prepared. I was a fig tree. But he put me in an environment to flourish. And that's what God wants to do with all of us. We just have to give him that opportunity. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for each one of the people here. And I'm going to ask you to work on their hearts. I'm going to ask you to work on the hearts of anyone on this campus who maybe has just an inkling of maybe doing something for you. There's no better feeling in the world. There's no better experience. Thank you for the beautiful Sabbath day. But most of all, thank you for the love and the gift of your Son. In your name, amen. One minor point. When I was at the NAD and I was hiring, I did a lot of hiring of people, or I did a lot of recommending of people. People would send me their resumes, and I'd get a call from a conference or a union. Hey, I need a communication director. I need an employee to do this. I was passing a lot of that stuff around. There was one thing on a resume that would put it to the top, and that's if the person had student mission experience. In my mind, that's vital because it gives you direction in your life. Thank you.
Hello. I would just want to thank Mr. Weber for sharing that beautiful message with us. Thank you for joining us for Mission Sabbath. And thank you all for coming and joining us for Mission Sabbath. We have some booths outside, so if any of you have questions on missions or are thinking of becoming a student missionary, we invite you to come and stop by on your way out. Happy Sabbath and have a wonderful day.